So for those of you that follow metal news, you're probably well aware of all of the drama we've seen over the last few days surrounding Slaughter To Prevail. And if you're not aware, let's just get you up to speed really quick. A couple days ago, one of Slaughter To Prevail's touring crew members, or former touring crew members at this point, specifically their drum tech, has released a public statement that has since made its way all over the internet with major media publications picking up on it, claiming that the tour that he was on with them was so unprofessional, so disorganized, and even crew people weren't getting paid, and he felt compelled to speak out about it. And full honesty with you guys, I was originally not going to touch this story, only because of my close proximity to a lot of people involved. I know the drum tech in question. I know other people on the Slaughter To Prevail crew, and if you watch this channel, you know it's no secret. I know a couple of the band members in Slaughter To Prevail, so I kind of didn't want to get in the middle of this originally. But in the last 24 hours, I have gotten, literally not kidding, hundreds of emails and DMs from people linking me to this story, saying like, why aren't you talking about this? This is something you would normally talk about on this channel. And you know what? You are right. If this was a band or a crew person that I didn't know, I probably would have covered this already. So I just decided, give you guys what you want. We're actually going to dive into this story, and I have dove into it as far as I possibly could have, and have gotten information from both sides of the story and compiled as much as I could to really try to get to the bottom of this and find out what's going on. Because so far, as of recording this video, it is the evening of July 27th. Slaughter To Prevail has not issued a formal statement about anything. So all we have to go off of is the original statements from the drum tech. And a lot of people are eating it up. Go figure. It's the internet. People love drama. I guarantee you some of the people that clicked on this video want more drama from this. But I'm going to try and approach this as journalistically as possible and just try and get to the little details of everything that happened. My aim here isn't to make one party or the other look bad. I just really want to get to the bottom of this, because this is the kind of story that could make a lot of people look bad. And I want to find out if this is really as bad as it is or not. A little bit of context before we dive into the full statement so we know who we're talking about. The drum tech that released the statement that was out with Slaughter To Prevail on their most recent tour is a drum tech named Thomas Finch. He's Nashville based. He's worked with a lot of artists. Most recently, before Slaughter To Prevail, I believe he was with Marilyn Manson, which is how he originally met the Slaughter To Prevail camp. He also owns a company in Nashville called FDS Drum Services, where he does drum and cymbal repair, restorations, custom drum heads, rewraps, a lot of drum services for a lot of people. And he has made a lot of custom drum heads and done work for a lot of drummers and artists. So to say this guy is a professional in this industry is a very accurate statement. He is well known, and people in this industry do know who he is. Now, his statement that was released at 5 p.m. on July 24th, which is about 3 days ago from when I'm filming, is very lengthy, and I will show it on screen as I read it, but I will read this entire thing fully without leaving anything out, because a lot of this context is super important. So if you've already read this and you kind of get the gist, feel free to skip ahead to the later parts as I've tagged in the chapters in this video, but here we go. A word of caution to my fellow crew, techs, and industry colleagues regarding Slaughter To Prevail. This isn't about the band personally. They are all wonderful, fun-loving humans. This is about the current leadership set in place, new band manager and current TM, TM being short for tour manager. After years of touring, working hard, and running a business that supports artists and musicians, I've never felt the need to post something like this until now. I recently stepped away from a tour with Slaughter To Prevail as a drum technician due to an overwhelming amount of disorganization, dismanagement, financial instability, and blatant disrespect toward crew members. I'm sharing this not out of bitterness, but out of responsibility to protect others in our community who might be approached by this camp for future work. It started with red flags. I was never asked for my banking information before being flown out. I had toured with them while with Marilyn Manson, so there was a bit of history, trust, and friendship there. When I sent my invoice and banking info after the first few shows, I received zero response. I was told the manager was traveling and didn't have email access. I would like to interject really quick and just say, when he says I was told the manager was traveling, He's actually talking about their business manager, not their actual artist manager. And there is a big difference there. The artist manager is the person who takes care of the business for the band. The business manager is the person who handles all the accounting for a band, paying invoices, paying crew, all that kind of stuff. So just wanted to get that out there. After weeks, eventually I was promised payment by the business manager. It didn't show. I made it clear I would not continue working for free. The tour manager brought that to the band's manager, whose response was, quote, "Tell him to get fucked," and that I was unprofessional for demanding payment and being willing to walk away. I then approached the band's guitarist and owner directly, as instructed. Right there, he's specifically talking about Jack, the guitarist for Slaughter To Prevail, and suddenly payment showed up. I chose to stay and honor my commitment, but unfortunately, the problems only escalated. What followed was complete breakdown. Crew forced to book their own return flights, TM using the cheapest failing transportation available, no working band credit card on days off, no food, no support, nothing. I bought pizza for the crew out of my own pocket, which was expressed as gratefulness by the tour manager, as all they had was a bag of leftover popcorn. Then was told by the tour manager that the band would likely refuse to reimburse me, and I am now battling them via email over pizza in order to get my invoice paid. $128,000+ blown on inflatable stage props that were never used because they didn't fit the venues. Meanwhile, the crew was left with no food, no basics, and worry about receiving pay. Now, the inflatable props that he's talking about, that I will show on screen right here, is the big inflatable bear behind their drum riser, and there were a couple bear heads on the sides of the stage for their set props. That is what he is talking about, but we will dive a little more into that later. Hotel rooms on a day off promised for crew were taken by the band and manager after the bus broke down. When the tour manager confronted management, he was told, quote, "If crew needs a room that bad, they can go get their own $100 hotel somewhere," or so the tour manager told us was said. Only after multiple crew members, myself included, threatened to exit the tour did rooms miraculously appear. No pay schedule, no clarity, just excuses. One of the most dangerous aspects of this operation is the lack of any clear pay schedule. You're told to submit your invoices by Thursday for payment the following Monday, and Monday never comes. Other crew were told different dates to submit, and the confusion set in. So while you're on the road, it becomes clear that you are expected to float your own expenses, flights, hotels, food, with no contract, no payment timeline, and no accountability. All PDs are put into your paycheck, which seemingly never arrives. Really quick to interject, when he says PDs, he's talking about per diems. This is a daily amount that bands and even companies give to their traveling employees for being away from home. So every day you're away from home on the road, whether it's in the music industry or traveling for like a corporate job, you get a set dollar amount that you get to cover your food or other expenses that you may have. The price ranges depending on who you work for and what state you're in and stuff like that, but just wanted you to know when he says PDs, he's talking about those per diems that the crew gets. So all PDs are put into your paycheck, which seemingly never arrives. And when you ask the TM when you're getting paid, you're told, quote, "You'll get paid when they're damn good and ready to pay you." This is exactly what was told to our lighting tech in front of the entire crew, who recently stood up for the box truck driver, a vendor who still hasn't been paid and has been covering tour costs out of pocket, went into the negative, and another truck driver helped him financially with gas and food. The tour manager's response, quote, "That's his problem. He should have been prepared financially." After speaking with the truck driver, it was made clear that he was never told he would have to front money and invoice for it. He was expected to be paid like everyone else. This kind of thinking is not only disrespectful, it's dangerous. To the touring community, I've worked with dozens of bands, venues, and crews around the country and the world. I know how hard we all work to keep the wheels turning and how important trust, communication, and professionalism are in this industry. If your approach to work with this camp, get a contract, demand a written payment timeline, do not pay out of pocket unless you want to fight for reimbursement, walk away if you sense even a hint of the behavior described above. There are too many great artists out there who do take care of their people. After a very heated and fiery conversation with the band's manager, everything became very clear and the writing was on the wall. I could not and will not move forward another day swimming in this chaos. I'm now heading home to my girlfriend, pups, and business with peace of mind knowing I stood my ground and did what was right. I have no regrets about leaving, only a broken heart for leaving the drummer, as he is an amazing person and I liked him very much. Even helped him land an Evans endorsement. Evans being the drumhead company that a lot of drummers use. I'll continue supporting artists who treat their crew with professionalism and respect we all deserve. With that said, if you need help with gear, a rack build, endorsement guidance, or just support as a fellow crew member, I've got your back. Much love and respect, Finch. P.S. Yes, I sufficient, undismissible proof of everything stated above. I believe that was supposed to say I have sufficient, but I digress from that. Upon my exit of the tour, they are now making people sign NDAs as to not have this information out there. NDAs meaning non-disclosure agreements to prevent crew people from discussing what is going on the road in a public setting. And I have been paid, minus the pizza/crew food purchases since my convo with management and making this post. Now, originally, this post was just on his Facebook page, and it was private. It was not shareable. But one of the first comments that he got on there was a comment that said, make this shareable, to which he did. And since that's happened, this post has been shared 294 times. It's had 91 comments and over 600 likes and reactions on it. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot in the grand scheme of the internet and how things go viral and get shared, but in the music community, 300 shares on a post like this is more than enough for word to get around about this. And it did. He also made this exact same post on a private touring group on Facebook that I am a part of. And there were a lot of different comments on there, but most of which were people who had the gut reaction of just like, holy shit, this is fucked up. Fuck that band. I'm glad you got out of there. And there were even some comments from other people who claimed that they have worked for Slaughter to Prevail in the past and confirmed a lot of what he was saying that like, yes, their manager is a giant piece of shit. I worked for them a couple years ago and it was just nothing but problems and the guy was a scumbag. Now, while I'm not going to share those screenshots because that is a private touring group and I do have respect for that, the problem with a lot of those comments that people were making is that they were talking about Slaughter to Prevail's old manager, who they've even admitted themselves they have had a lot of problems with, who they actually recently fired. So all of the other issues that people brought up were a separate manager from the manager that Finch is talking about here. I'm not trying to say that negates anything that's been said by anybody. I just want to make clear and differentiate that a lot of the responses were about somebody completely different than who Finch is talking about, even though when some outlets have talked about this, they've kind of lumped that all into one category. Now, full honesty, when I first saw this post, I had the same gut reaction a lot of people in our industry did too. I was like, holy shit, this is insane. Like, I can't believe your crew is getting treated like this out there. And I was also kind of surprised because I had just seen Slaughter to Prevail in Nashville a week ago from filming this video. It was like July 20th. It was a Sunday. I even saw Finch for a brief, maybe 5-10 minutes before the show started. Even talked to him and said, how's it going out there? And he's like, oh, it's great, man. I love touring with these guys. Love working with this drummer. Everything's great. Sick tour. Shows are sick. Like, I had no inkling in that moment that anything was wrong until I saw this. I had even originally commented on his post being like, wow, this is super crazy. Like, I can't believe this is happening. And like, good on you for speaking out because stuff in the industry won't change unless we talk about it. And that's something I've preached on this channel many times before. Shortly after that, I actually reached out to Jack, the guitar player for Slaughter to Prevail, and was just like, yo, dude, I don't know if you saw this, but I got some questions for you, man, because like, I know you guys and like, these are some pretty heavy accusations here. And he seemed blindsided by it as well. He was like, mate, I have no idea where this is coming from. Like, nobody on our tour has come to us. He didn't come to us and talk to us about this. We didn't even know he was gone until he was gone. He just left and went to the airport and went home and then posted this. This is the first we're hearing about this. So I was like, okay, that was the moment I realized I need to kind of pump the brakes here. Admittedly, I went back and deleted my comment from Finch's post. And I even texted Finch out of respect and was just like, hey man, just so you know, I deleted my comment because I kind of don't want to get involved in this until I see where it's going. I hope you understand that. And he was like, yeah, totally cool. Like, I get it. So over the course of the next 24 hours, I actually spent a lot of time texting with Finch and texting with Jack and talking about what's going on. And then I eventually jumped on a phone call with Finch and he explained like his entire side of the story and everything going on. And I even kind of threw some rebuttals to him being like, well, did this really happen like this? Because like, this is like wild. Like, did this person say this? Because that's kind of unbelievable. And he stood by everything and said that everything was absolutely correct. And even admitted to me, like, I didn't expect this post to blow up the way it did. I'm kind of freaking out right now because like I legitimately was just trying to call out bad behavior in our industry. I wasn't trying to make the band look bad, but now all these people are talking about the band and it's just blown up into this gigantic, huge thing. And I don't know what's going to happen now. Towards the end of that conversation, I actually told him, I was like, I respect the sentiment behind calling out stuff in the industry, but from what you're telling me and what I'm reading here, this sounds like you really just have an issue with management and tour management. And this is probably something you should actually talk to the band about personally. Like go to Jack, go to Alex, and actually have a conversation with them, because I know for sure that the Slaughter to Prevail guys actually care about what's going on. They are growing as a band, which we will talk more about in a little bit. And they want to make sure that the operation is running correctly. So I advised him that he should probably call Slaughter to Prevail and talk to them directly to like sort this all out before it just snowballs into something that's out of control. Shortly after that phone call with Finch, he actually posted another statement online. And I will read that now. According to Facebook, this was posted 22 hours ago. So that would make that about 8 p.m. on July 26th, just for the timeline of events. Official statement from Finch/FDS Drum Services. After stepping away from the recent Slaughter to Prevail tour, I want to provide final clarity on why I made that decision. And I want to stress this again. My issue was never with the band themselves. My decision to exit the tour early was due to consistent failures in leadership, specifically the current tour manager, who overshared the band's private information, encouraged crew activities against the band's dry rules of touring, blasting the band manager to crew, and sharing negative comments. Just a quick note, when he says dry tour, for anybody that's not aware of what that is, it means a tour with no alcohol or drugs. There are a lot of bands out there that prefer to run a dry tour where they don't want anybody in their crew or their touring party drinking or doing drugs, and they request that everybody abides by those rules. It created a swampy, toxic atmosphere. Although the band's current/new manager's business acumen and demeanor were no better in an attempt to have an adult and professional conversation, it just didn't sit right out of the gate. From the start, I experienced disorganization, delayed communication, no clear pay schedule laid out by leadership, and a refusal to take accountability when problems were brought to attention. I had to fight to receive payment during production rehearsal that had already been promised by the business manager. Crew, silent as they may be, and vendors faced the same. At one point, the majority of the crew overheard the LD, lighting director, being told while packed into a Ford Expedition asking about the box truck driver's pay, quote, "Your problem is that you're used to a schedule, every week or 2 weeks. You'll get paid when they're damn good and ready to pay you." Even while urgent financial matters were pending, asking about my own pay, the business manager went on vacation and my bank was ignored. His excuse later was that, quote, his people never told him. The crew wasn't in a position to safely speak up. One tech was on his very first tour. He didn't know any better. Another, the only Russian speaker, stayed silent. And the LD and quick hire merch guy left after the second to last show. And today, at their Vans Warped Tour performance in California, they had removed the custom bass drum heads I designed and created for them, which they paid for. A final message, I guess. Through all this, I've remained respectful and withheld names, not because I'm protecting anyone, but because I believe the story speaks for itself. If it sparks internal reflection or change, great. If not, then at least others in the touring community are now aware. This will be the last public comment I make on this situation. I'm returning my full focus to FDS Drum Services, to serving the drummers of Nashville and the greater music community with professionalism, passion, and honesty. That's where my heart is, and that's what deserves my energy. Thank you to everyone who has shown support. Keep speaking up. We all deserve better out there. Respectfully, Finch. Now that post itself, even though it's been up for almost 24 hours, has only gotten 6 comments and been shared 4 times. So that has not been seen by as many people as his original post that is making the rounds in the media. And this story made the rounds, man. And not just media. I'm talking like friends that I have in the music industry, people that work at labels, people that work PR, other crew people, other people in bands. they reposted this like wildfire, and the general consensus with their own words was like, fuck this band, what a bunch of pieces of shit. And then when it comes to media, I've seen Metal Injection pick it up. I've seen Lambgoat pick it up. I've seen it all over Reddit, all over the place. And the general consensus is not directed towards what Finch said, that it's a management issue. It's the band. I'm pretty sure the headlines that I've seen from other places are specifically naming Slaughter to Prevail, not naming management and stuff like that. So it's gotten kind of out of hand at this point. Obviously, with this making the rounds, the band has seen it at this point, and they've felt a little bit from it. There are people that are blowing up their comments on Instagram with saying, pay your crews, stop being pieces of shit, all of this. And again, without hearing anybody else's side of the story. So their singer, Alex, took to Instagram 14 hours ago and posted this story that says, a lot of people start to text me bullshit like we don't pay our crew and shit just because you saw one post on the internet. If you're drawing conclusions based on only one side, I feel sorry for you. You are adults and yet believe everything you read on the internet. Before making any judgments, you should be fully aware of the whole situation. I always pay my dues and always respect the people I work with. This person decided that he had the right to publicly damage my reputation and the reputation of my band, even though in person he was always polite and kind to me. He didn't choose to speak to me or the band members directly. Instead, he decided to leave the tour, abandon our drummer without a tech, and post everything online painting himself as a saint. All right then, there will be an official statement from the band today. Now, as of recording this video, it's about 10 p.m. at night on July 27th. They have not posted an official statement.
A few moments later.
Well, and what is one of the most coincidental timings ever, as I was sitting here working on this video, Slaughter to Prevail has actually officially released a statement on this. So let's see what that says. We always pay our crew. We do everything we can to run this band properly and fix any problems as they come up. The person who made the public post never raised any concerns during the tour. In fact, they asked to continue working with us right up until the day they chose to leave, which left us very shocked after he personally texted our drummer that he was leaving and never spoke to us about any issues beforehand. Instead, he put his grievances online immediately, which is strange to us as it looks like he's using this opportunity to promote his business. We're shocked to see him use this opportunity to grow his business when it should be about genuine crew issues that we could fix easily, which he knew that we could as we had fixed issues for him before. Despite his statement saying his wish the band to be successful, he left our drummer and pushed his statement as far as he could to hurt our reputation over problems we could have solved for him. Whilst we understand there's a protocol with leadership and crew grievances, he broke this on the first day with no consequences because his problem was solved easily, but then he preferred to make this public instead of actually trying to fix the issues again, which looks very opportunistic to us. We believe the reason he chose to leave was after conversation with our manager, who told him he would not be continuing as our drum tech on upcoming tours. We already have a full-time drum tech based in Australia. When we first booked these shows, they were intended as one-off festivals, and it didn't make sense to fly him over. After that conversation, the public accusations and slander began. We believe the conversations were tense, but it was mutual and direct between adults. People spoke their minds. This happened in a public part of the green room with crew, venue staff, band, and friends present. Many of the claims in the post are not true from our perspective. For example, on the day the crew bus broke down during a travel day, we'd only booked day rooms at a hotel in El Paso. Real quick, as I've been interjecting for people that don't tour, day rooms are a pretty common thing in the industry on a lot of tours. What that means is they probably purchased 2 or 3 hotel rooms rather than one for everybody, which are used as shower rooms and day rooms. People can go in, get cleaned up, then go back to the bus and relax. This is very common. I've done this on a lot of tours I've been on. Because of the situation, the band gave up their personal rooms and had them converted into twin rooms so the crew could sleep while waiting for the repaired bus to arrive and take them to the next show in Tucson. The claim about delayed payment is also not accurate. The delay was started by the individual giving our business team incorrect bank information, which caused the payment to bounce. After that, and a short holiday taken by our business manager, payment was made within 2 weeks of the show, which is one thing we can improve, is to make sure all short-term contractors are issued with proper agreements that clearly state all conditions to avoid situations like this in the future with correct payment schedules. As foreign nationals, we have tried our best to set up a business structure in the United States, including credit cards and banking. It has taken time to sort, especially for credit cards, as we had security issues with our debit cards that were out of control. We worked hard to find solutions to keep the tour running smoothly. In rare situations, crew covered small expenses on our behalf, which is normal, and reimbursed quickly through standard recharge invoices. I will jump in really quick. I was going to wait to discuss all of this at the end with the information that I've got from both parties too. But I would like to jump in there and say, as a tour manager and somebody has toured as a crew person for years and years and years, that is true. There are a lot of situations on the road where I have paid for something up front and then invoiced it to the band and got reimbursed for that. That is a thing. They are not making that up. Even as a tour manager for a band from Germany, there are many times where they have issues with their bank cards in the US due to like security issues and stuff like that, where it just keeps getting declined. And I'll use my own personal credit card for things because the band just reimburses me. Like, that is a regular occurrence. So there is no untruth to them saying that that's normal. That happens all the time. After the accusations were made, we conducted a full internal review into crew conditions. We spoke to everyone involved to make sure the environment is professional, respectful, and fair. We found no evidence of any mistreatment or wrongdoing and have welcomed all advice to make our future tours better. We take these things seriously and want everyone we work with to feel safe and confident in their role. We also want people to know we had warnings about this person before the tour. We gave them a chance and stayed quiet. We never shared any of their past or present behavior public, even when we had reason to. But now that line has been crossed. Another crew member close to this individual was also not asked to return because of poor work. They are specifically talking about the lighting director in that situation. To protect our team and our business, we issued a standard non-disclosure agreement. This is common in touring and protects everyone when private business or personal information is being shared publicly. That is also 100% true. I have signed non-disclosure agreements on tons of tours I've been on. It's not necessarily to prevent crew from talking publicly in the way that Finch did. It's more to protect like non-public information, like release dates, tours that have been scheduled that haven't been announced, like business-related stuff like that. We are not perfect, but we are focused. We try to do the right thing, and we care deeply about our music, our fans, and the people we work with. Thank you for supporting us. We move forward. There will be no further statements, but we'll happily see this through court if he wants to continue. Slaughter to Prevail. In my opinion, after reading that, and there's probably going to be some people watching this video that are not going to agree with what I'm saying, but I do have a lot of information that the public doesn't, and this band can be quite controversial. I think that's a great statement, actually. I think that's a really good statement to address this issue and address concerns and address some things that were said without specifically throwing Finch under the bus, because they could have. Like, I've heard some things from other crew people and other people that have toured with Finch that they left out. They could have thrown his reputation under the bus, and they didn't. The only thing that they really said was they feel like he's trying to promote his business by capitalizing off their name and stuff, which it is a little weird that he kept mentioning his business in all of his posts, but that's whatever. Like, I digress on that one, but there is a lot more information here that I have that I would like to go through really quick before we wrap up this video. This hopefully is going to be shorter now that they've released a statement, but I do want to cover some things. Now, at one point, I did reach out to Finch again, and I said, listen, man, I've been shown a lot of stuff that makes your story look not like it's in context, or some of it is exaggerated or lying. Like, can you share with me your undismissible evidence that you have? And he politely declined and just said, you know what, at this point, I just don't want to share anything more. I just want to let it do what it's going to do. And that's it. So I did ask for Finch if he had any rebuttals to any of this to provide it to me, and he just respectfully declined to. So over the last couple days, I really did put on like my almost like journalistic hat, because like, I'm like, I want to find out what's going on. I want to get to the bottom of this. And as I've said, I spent so much time talking to so many people involved with this whole situation. I've talked to Finch a ton. He even texted me as I was sitting here filming this. I've talked to both Jack and Alex, way more Jack than Alex, but I have talked to Alex as well. I've talked to current crew members that they have out there. I've talked to management. I've talked to people that have worked with them before. I've talked to people that have worked with Finch before, because I wanted to really get the scope of everything and just really try and comprehend where all of this is really coming from. And with everybody I've talked to and all the things that have come up, I have actually seen hard evidence of things that have gone on from multiple different parties. I've seen emails, pictures, screenshots of things. I'm not going to share those because those are private, but I will give you my absolute, whatever you want to consider, journalistic guarantee, whatever, that the things that I'm going to bring up, I have seen actual evidence of. This is not hearsay. This is real things that I have seen that have kind of made me come to the conclusions that I've come to with this whole situation. Firstly, when it comes to all this pay related stuff, for where Finch was saying he wasn't paid on time and he was getting 0 responses and the business manager was on vacation and all that stuff, like the way he phrases it there makes it sound like this is some random scrub business manager that doesn't really know what they're doing. And that is not true. A quick Google search could reveal that their business management company is CC Young, a huge accounting and business management firm based in the UK that has literally won awards for their accounting services in the past. They handle business management for over 250 artists, a lot of those artists being a lot bigger than Slaughter to Prevail. So a company like that is not just dropping the ball and missing emails and stuff like that. Like, I truly believe from the things I've seen and knowing this company's background that this was just poorly timed circumstances. And the fact that from what I've seen, it is true that there was false bank information or bank information was changed mid-tour, which caused a payment to Finch to either be withheld or bounce or whatever. And when that issue was brought up, it was taken care of. Even Finch admitted to, once he brought it to Jack, Jack called the business manager and said, what the fuck is going on? And they had it taken care of as quickly as possible. So that right there, there's an explanation for it. Him being on vacation is just poorly timed circumstances, and nobody is at fault on that. It was just, he was on vacation. If anything, maybe somebody from his office should have got a hold of him while he was on vacation and said, hey, the bank is trying to confirm this stuff, and nobody did, but it got taken care of in the end. And also the whole thing about the manager telling him to get fucked and that he was unprofessional for demanding pay and threatening to walk and stuff. Both sides of the parties of this have confirmed that that is like semi-true, but it has nothing to do with him demanding pay. He had tried to negotiate a different pay, like pay raise, in the middle of a tour. And typically that's not how that works. You negotiate your pay up front, you finish a tour, and then when a new tour starts, you renegotiate pay. So not condoning the manager saying get fucked if that happened or anything like that, but it would be a bit unprofessional to start renegotiating a higher pay in the middle of a tour after you've already been paid and have already been talking about pay. The crew being forced to book their own flights and stuff like that, confirmed on both sides, semi-true. Like the way that he phrased it is leaving a lot of context out. The crew was told that they could book their own flights home from tour and that they would be reimbursed, which is a thing that happens from time to time on tours. I've been on tours where that happens, where they leave it up to the crew people to decide what flights they want to take at what time. It actually makes it easy on us because we can choose what we want to do. And then we pay for the flight on our cards and send the invoice to the band's business manager, and we get reimbursed. And we get the credit card points off of that and stuff like that too. In Finch's specific case, the band has told me they would have booked his flight for him, but they couldn't because he left and went to the airport without telling anybody. So they were never even given the chance to get him a flight home. The no working credit card thing, the band kind of explained. And as I explained, like those things do happen. That is unfortunate. But I mean, dude, when I tour in the US with, the band I work for, I have a credit card with me that I constantly put stuff on when their card gets declined, or it's just easier for me to pay for something. And I've never had issues getting reimbursed with them or any other band I've worked with. Even when I was a tech, I've bought things out of my own pocket just because it's quicker and easier, and I always get paid back. As for the no food, no bus stock thing, that's kind of a weird one on me. Like most tours I've been on are actually providing bus stock and after show food and stuff like that. Now, specifically on show days, on days off, the band is not buying the crew meals and stuff like that. You're on your own. That's what per diems are for. So this whole pizza situation is like, I really respect the fact that Finch has done that. I also have bought food for crew on the road before and stuff like that. And me personally, I feel like the band probably should reimburse that, just if the situation was rough and it called for it and it was hard for them to get food and stuff like that. But, you know, if they knew up front that, you know, your per diems you're getting are paying for your food and we don't provide or reimburse for food, then that's what the deal is. But I do think maybe going forward, the band should possibly think about doing bus stock and stuff like that for their crew to possibly avoid situations like this in the future. You know, you don't have to go insane. Just make sure you got some snacks and stuff to make sandwiches and stuff like that on the bus. The $128,000 blown on inflatable props for the stage. Now, I gotta admit, the first time I read that, I didn't believe it. And I even asked Finch where he got that number. And he told me that that's what he overheard from the tour manager. Why the tour manager is talking about those numbers out loud with other crew, I don't know. But I knew that number wasn't accurate because I see cost sheets all the time as a tour manager and I know how much stuff costs for rentals. And I had a feeling that that number was probably their overall production, not just those inflatables. And it was confirmed to me by the band that that was the case. That was the overall. Not to mention, it wasn't just for these 7 shows on their North American tour they just did. It was also for the upcoming tour they had with Falling in Reverse. They were well aware that these inflatables were not going to fit in a lot of these venues they just did in the US. They were more specifically for the outdoor shows and for the upcoming Falling in Reverse tour. The hotel room thing, the band just covered. I firmly believe that, especially because I've been in those situations before. You can't plan bus breakdowns. Shit happens on the road. And when it does, you have to make adjustments. And, you know, their crew did say, and even Finch did confirm that at the end of the day, they did get hotel rooms from the band in that situation. And that quote where the manager said, if they want hotel rooms so bad, they can go buy one somewhere else. Again, he said that was hearsay from the tour manager. Like, you know, he didn't actually hear the manager say that. I don't know if I actually believe that that was said. Whether the tour manager told him that or not, I don't know. But I find that hard to believe that the manager actually said that. And it really surprised me to see some of those quotes at first because their new manager, who's been with them for months now, is a professional, a guy that's been in the industry for a while. This isn't just some random guy or something like that. Finch has named him by name in a lot of comments, so I'll name him as well. It's a guy by the name of Adam Foster, and he works for 5B Artist Management, which is one of the largest rock and metal management companies in the business. Like, I don't know specifically who Adam is managing as well as Slaughter to Prevail, but I mean, 5B handles bands like Slipknot, Behemoth, Trivium, Orbit Culture, Baby Metal, tons of bands. And Adam is a higher up at their company. So it would really be shocking to me after years of knowing this guy's reputation and not hearing stories like this to find out that he was acting like this when he works for a company like this. It's kind of unbelievable. And then the whole part about like the crew not getting paid and him asking the tour manager when they're getting paid. And the tour manager supposedly said, you'll get paid when they're damn good and ready to pay you. That's absurd to me, dude. Like, first of all, as a tour manager, I don't have anything to do with my crew getting paid. I'm a crew person myself. All of that goes through management and business management. Like, I don't know why a tour manager would be getting involved with pay unless, as Finch was saying, he was going up the chain of command and went to the tour manager first instead of the manager. But the tour manager should have defaulted to the manager in that situation. Like, tour managers don't have anything to do with crews getting paid. As for that quote, again, it sounds like something somebody wrote for a TV drama or a movie. Like, you'll get paid when they're good and damn ready. You're damn good ready to pay. That just seems so far-fetched to me, dude. Like, people don't say that kind of stuff. It's even on the road where it's super sarcastic, and on some tours, people talk harder than others. Like, that's still like crazy. The box truck driver thing, they didn't address. But I have talked to the lighting director, who's also not there, who they addressed, and he confirmed Finch's story on that and said that that driver was paying a lot out of his pocket. If that's true, the band needs to address situations like that in the future because a driver should not be paying out of their pocket for anything at all. And going back to this dry tour thing that was mentioned in his second statement, where he said that the tour manager was like encouraging them to participate in activities on a dry tour that they shouldn't be and stuff like that. From who I've talked to on the band side of things, that actually sounds like that may have been happening. I don't know if it was the tour manager encouraging people, but it sounds like people were drinking out there and stuff like that. And, you know, I've been on enough tours to know that on days off and after the show and stuff like that, like, you can't always control a crew. If they're away from the band who's not drinking and stuff, they might go have some beers and drink and stuff like that. And from the sounds of it, it does sound like a lot of their crew was having beers and stuff after shows and on days off and stuff. And when I asked Finch about that, he actually told me that he was never told ever that this was supposed to be a dry tour. And that all of the crew members were participating in drinking on days off and stuff like that. Jack had told me that, yeah, they do like to keep a dry tour, but if nobody told the crew people that it was a dry tour, like management, tour management, stuff like that, that is an issue that needs to be addressed, and nobody can be faulted for drinking if they weren't told that it wasn't, or that it was a dry tour. Another thing that was brought up was that, you know, the band had said that they talked to all of their crew members and tried to find out what they felt about the working conditions. And Finch said in his second statement that the crew members were in a position where they couldn't speak up or didn't feel safe to speak up and stuff like that. And I will say there is a thing in this industry where that is a thing in a lot of situations. And it's something that needs to be fixed in this industry. There's a lot of loyalty that's preached to crew people about how they need to just rough it out, stick it out. You know, it's hard being out here on the road. You just need to suck it up and do your job and stuff like that. So there are crew people out there that feel like they can't complain about things or speak up. And I've been in those situations when I was younger too. But from how I've talked to Jack about things and Alex, and from what I encountered at the Nashville show and stuff like that, it seems like they have a very open crew. And when Jack tells me they went to the whole crew and talked to them and said, do you guys have any issues? And he told me, like, yeah, they brought up the whole situation with the hotels and the buses was really inconvenient and that sucked and stuff like that. But that was like the only complaint. They said they had no other issues with any of the way that the tour was operating. Like, I gotta believe that, because in my position, if an artist I was working for came to me and said, hey man, I want you to be honest, is there stuff here that needs to be fixed? I would tell them the truth, because that has happened before. I wouldn't be worried about my job. I would be legitimately feeling that this artist wants to change something, and I'm going to tell them what's going on. So this always did strike me weird that with this whole story, if it were really as bad as Finch's original post made it sound, like, why was he the only one that just up and bailed the day that he did? Like, you would think it would be multiple crew people, but it wasn't. Like, he claims that the LD and the merch person left. Well, the LD thing was mutual from his side of the story and the band's. They didn't like the work he was doing, and they cut ties. He actually wanted to work for them longer, and they had just said, no, we're going in different directions. So he didn't up and bail either. And for the merch guy, their merchandise manager was actually scheduled to go home after that second to last show anyways, because they were doing Warped Tour, and Warped Tour has vendors that sell the merchandise. So there was no reason for them to be there. So the claim that multiple other people left after the second to last show isn't fully true. They did leave, but they didn't up and quit like Finch did, which this post makes it sound like they did. And finally, actually, I kind of found this funny when Finch said that at Warped Tour, they removed the custom drum heads that he had made for them that they purchased. And he said it was like a final message or something. I don't think it was a final message. My first initial thought was that because Warped Tour was being live streamed, Warped Tour asked them to change their kick drum heads out. Because if you've seen any of the videos from the show or you were at the shows, their drummer uses two kick drums. One of them said fuck, and the other one said you. So I just said a giant fuck you. And I was like, okay, like Warped Tour probably made them take that off because they were live streaming and they didn't want that on there. And I gotta fully admit, when I went and saw the show and I saw that, I was like, It's a bit cringy, man. Like, it's, it's kind of lame. And come to find out, it had nothing to do with Warped Tour. The band actually told me they finally saw like pictures and a video of it and actually decided themselves that it was super cringy and lame and they wanted to get rid of it. So it was just coincidental timing. It had nothing to do with the fact that Finch made them because, like he said, they purchased it from him, from his drum services. They owned it, so they could do whatever they want. It had nothing to do with him. They actually themselves realized it was cringy and lame and wanted to get rid of it. The other thing too, which is true, again, I've seen evidence of this, is that the band said that they feel as though Finch is upset that he didn't go out with them again full time because he was just filling in for these shows. They feel like he got upset and went public with this stuff because of that. I don't think that's the specific reason. That would be very petty, and I kind of don't believe that. But it is true that he wanted to stay out with them. I've seen evidence of him giving them his availability for touring, like well into the end of the year, and showing interest in wanting to stay out with these guys. And that is not something you do if conditions are this bad as you're claiming that they are. But listen, man, I feel like at this point, like, Finch has said his piece. The band has said their piece, and the internet is going to do what the internet's going to do. They're going to side with somebody because people love to do that, and they love the drama. As I've said, Slaughter To Prevail is a controversial band. Alex is a controversial person. People have their mind made up. This is all the ammunition that people needed to just try and hate this band more than they already have. And I don't want to sit here and take sides. I know there's a lot of people that probably think that I'm completely trying to discredit Finch and I'm taking the side of the band. That's not really what I'm trying to do here. I wanted to get to the bottom of what's going on because I felt like there was more to this. And I knew by that statement that the band themselves, not the tour management, not the management, the band was going to face the full brunt of this, because that's how this kind of stuff works. When people work for bands, their reputation turns into the band. If I, tour managing a band that I do, walk into a venue and treat the venue like staff like shit, make demands, I'm a dick to be around all day, that story from that venue isn't going to be, oh, this band's tour manager was a dickhead. It's going to be, hey, we had this band in here and they sucked and they were dicks. That's exactly what's happening with the media on this. Nobody is referencing the fact that Finch said this isn't about the band, this is about the leadership, and they're just throwing Slaughter To Prevail's name on it because that's what's going to get clicks, that's what's going to cause the drama, that's what people are going to feed into when they're getting riled up about this. And you could make the argument that yes, whoever the bands hire represents them, so they are complicit in some sense. But this is why bands hire people, because these people take care of the things that the band doesn't want to handle or doesn't have time to handle. So there are definitely times where bands don't know what's going on within their own crew and they only hear what's told to them. And if nothing is told to them, then nothing can be fixed. This is a band that is growing. A couple years ago, Slaughter To Prevail was nowhere near the size that they are right now. And when bands start getting bigger and start moving into productions and multiple buses and things they're not used to, hiccups can happen, man. Growing pains happen. And I know this firsthand because I'll tell you a story that I've never really told publicly before. When I first started the current tour that I'm on right now, Electric Callboy, I almost walked off the first tour I ever did with them because there were a lot of problems going on behind the scenes with management and the way things were being handled and the way things were being paid at the start of a tour, not to me, but to like buses and production and things like this. There were so many little things falling through the cracks that it was becoming infuriating. And I eventually went to the band and I told the band, I am very close to leaving right now and not doing this tour with you guys because I cannot handle the way that management is dealing with some of this stuff. And my name is going to be attached to this tour. And I don't want to be involved with this when it falls apart. You guys need to address this. Like, this needs to be fixed. And they did. And fast forward to today, a few years later, a couple years later, something like that. I don't know, 2.5 years later, let's say. That manager who I had a problem with back then is now a person I love dearly that I would take a bullet for. And in hindsight, looking back on it, These were all just growing pains from a band growing so fast that they and their team just didn't know how to handle it. Sometimes these bands and their teams that are used to such a level that they're at, whether it's small or medium or whatever, for so long, if they blow up, it's like they just get thrown into the fire and have to learn on the fly and deal with it. So of course, growing pains are going to happen. So I truly believe that is probably what's going on with Slaughter To Prevail right now. And this is a very important moment for them. This is the moment where, do you get your shit sorted out, figure out what the problems are, replace those problems and fix those problems? Or do things keep going the way that they're going and nothing changes, and then eventually it's going to be really bad? And I truly, after reading all of this and going through all of this, I truly, truly believe that if people would have just went to the band and expressed frustrations or problems that they thought, this situation would have turned out way differently. There seems to be a huge lack of communication here. I really have no reason to believe that Finch's statements are like false in the version that he believes they happened. But a lot of it, again, was like hearsay that he heard from other people. And if he's hearing it wrong, or it's like the telephone game where it's coming back wrong, or it's he said, she said, this stuff can easily get misconstrued. And I truly believe that is what happened here. I don't fault anybody really with a lot of things that are going on, not Finch, not the band. I think there's a major lack of miscommunication within this crew, possibly within the band structure and the management structure. And at the very least, hopefully this dies out for everybody, because you don't want to drag their reputation. You don't want to drag Finch's reputation. Like, this is just an unfortunate circumstance. And at the very least, maybe this causes some problems to be solved. As the band said, they're doing like internal interviews with their crew, trying to find out what's going on. They want to make things better. And I do truly believe that, again, after talking to them. So we'll see what happens with all this, man. I just truly think that communication is key in these situations. And with the proper communication, stuff like this can be completely avoided. All of that being said, I do believe there are circumstances in this industry where people should be speaking out about the way that they're treated and the things that they face, because for a very long time, this industry has had the stereotype of like, you just keep quiet and you don't talk about things and you do your work, and, you know, it's hard work being out here on the road. And that has for decades now bred this like community of just people being complicit and not saying things when they should, and that's how people get away with things. So I do believe people should be speaking up about things that they're facing on tours when they are truly fucked up situations. But in this situation, I feel like Finch rushed by putting this statement out without having 100% of the contacts and the facts associated with all of this. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, for the last couple of days, it's turned out to be a lose-lose for everybody, where everybody's just arguing online. And, you know, Finch is probably dealing with a lot of stuff he doesn't want to, and the band is dealing with a lot of drama they don't want to. It just sucks for everybody involved, man. And I hope it just dies out and things can get squashed and just be better. But that's going to do it for me on this one, man. I just wanted to share some of my thoughts with this. I really do think this situation has been blown out of proportion. And I think a lot of people should allow just a little bit of empathy, sympathy, grace, whatever, to both parties in this situation, and just let them handle it internally after this, figure stuff out, and just let it go. Because we all know in like a week, somebody in metal is going to do something stupid anyways, and we're going to be focused on that from then on, and everybody's going to forget about this anyways. Now, I know this was a long video, so to everybody that took the time to watch this, I do want to thank you for watching this and hearing my side of it, and, you know, trying to just get the story out there and stuff like that. If you ever want to follow along when I live stream and talk about stuff on Twitch, where we often talk about music content, you can go to twitch.tv/TankTheTech. I'm also on social media. My handle on just about everything is @TankTheTech, and I'm pretty active on Instagram when I'm on tour and stuff, if you want to follow there. But that's going to wrap it up. So thank you again for watching. Wherever you are in the world, be safe, be kind to each other. I love you all, and I will see you very soon.